My name is Maddie Horgan, and I'll be talking about a very important topic that we are actually faced with today. And it is should drugs be given without clinical trials? And as most of you know, COVID-19 pandemic is going on right now, and a lot of pharmaceutical companies are trying to come out with a vaccine as quick as possible and just get it out to the public so we can go back to our normal lives. However, we don't know the risks of these drugs. We don't know the long-term side effects. There is no for sure answer if these vaccines are going to harm us just as much as they're going to help us. But the suicide rates are up, anxiety rates are up, depression. It has impacted everyone's life in some shape or form. So it leaves a lot of people torn, and a lot of people don't know what to do. And personally, I don't have an answer because I wouldn't know what to do. But if I think about giving it to a loved one, I'm not sure if I would give someone a vaccine that I don't know the side effects of. So I think I would rather wait than give it to someone in this pandemic. The history of clinical trials goes back to the 1930s. It has been a controversial topic for many years, and in 1938, trials became a necessity for all drugs because the FDA passed the U.S. Food and Drug Cosmetics Act, forcing safety checks on all drugs before they're released to the public. This was important because in World War II, soldiers got very sick and very injured, more than people could keep up with, and they couldn't get the medicine out quick enough. The AIDS epidemic also contributed to this because it forced more people to join clinical trials, allowing it to be on a greater scale. And then in 1994, the U.S. allowed women to participate in them because before it was only men. And this sparked other companies to get experimental drugs available to the public. So, for example, a few cancer organizations pushed for this. But it also led to protests because people did not like the thought of humans being used in trials because we are as vulnerable as animals, according to the FDA. And that became a big issue, and it still is talked about today. Later then, phases of trials were developed. There are currently 4 phases of clinical trials. The first phase is with a small group of healthy people, just figuring out the dosage, safety, and side effects. And phase 2 is with a few hundred people, so it's on a little bit of a larger scale. And it's mostly just to check the effectiveness and see how it works. And then phase 3 and 4 are with larger groups of people in the thousands, and that's where it'll get approval from the FDA and eventually be released to the public, but still monitored. The right to try. Oh wait, this ensures that the drug is safe for the public, and it will have less risks involved and harmful effects, hopefully. So, what if it's urgent and you can't wait for the clinical trial to finish? This is a big issue that a lot of people are faced with because sometimes this is their last resort and they only have a few more days to live. And that is where the right to try laws come into play. 41 states currently have passed the right to try laws, and many states are following shortly. And it allows patients to have access to experimental drugs under strict policies, and phase 1 must be also completed. It is completely voluntary, and patients have to know the risks, the side effects, and it is up to them and their doctor. And a quote I found very powerful from a doctor who actually used an experimental drug that worked on one of his patients who just wanted to live long enough to see her grandchildren reborn. It says, if you are willing to go around the clinical trial design in order to provide better care for your patient, that suggests to me that you are pretty committed to your patient. And in a sense, I think that is sort of reassuring. And that's from the New York Times. I think this is very powerful because sometimes you do have to go outside the box and take the risks, but at the same time, some people don't want to do that because there are risks involved. And I just thought that was a very good quote. The next thing is hope, and hope is actually more important than people think because your mental aspect is just as important as your physical, and it is very hard to have hope when you have a lot of doctors telling you that it's not looking good and you might not make it a few more days. So, giving people experimental drugs, not knowing the outcome, can spark a little hope and keep them going, keep them optimistic, and that can lead to the placebo effect that if they think this experimental drug is working, they're going to start to feel better, and it can be a game changer for some people. However, on the other side, there are some dangerous effects of not waiting for a clinical trial to be finished. In the 1960s, the Thalamide Tragedy happened, and Thalamide is a morning sickness and sleepiness pill and it had sales almost as high as aspirin. It was marked as completely safe, and according to Helix developers, could not find a high enough dose to kill a rat. So, with hearing all that, it sounds completely safe. It was said to be safe for pregnant women, and then everyone who took it, their kids developed phocomelia, which is when the arms and legs are too closely attached to the body or completely absent. And as you can see in this picture, it is very devastating and it can lead to lifelong problems for these children. And that was all because there weren't enough safety checks on Thalamide and there was no clinical trial on the drug. This also has effects on doctors. Doctors are in it with the patients. They take them under their wing in a way, and they are trying to get them better. So this stresses out doctors just as much as it would a patient. And they have to go home every single day with the thought of what they could have done better and if they did the right thing. And if they give a patient an experimental drug and it ends badly, this could stress out a doctor to a larger scale, causing tension, headaches, insomnia, lowered immunity, and sometimes it even can cause burnouts. It stresses out the doctor, and it takes a toll on their family life, their personal life, love life. So this is a huge problem. Most people just think of the patient, but it affects a lot more people than we realize. In my opinion, I think clinical drugs or experimental drugs should be given in emergency situations if it's the last resort, because there always is a chance of success, and I do think it should be the patient's choice and have long consideration with the doctor, talk about it, figure out the risks, and there's constantly progress and evolution of drugs, and they're becoming safer. You're able to be monitored more, and you could be taken off it if you're starting to get bad side effects. And something I like to live by is saving one life is still an entire life, so I would rather save one life with an experimental drugs than none at all, and it would be a missed opportunity if someone didn't take it. But in conclusion, this is still a controversial topic we are talking about today. The last few states are still trying to pass the right to try laws. The access numbers are going up, and more and more people are using experimental drugs, but the FDA is still perfecting the methods, and it is not 100% safe or guaranteed success. And then these are the references for all my information. Thank you very much.